Hi, friends. I saw on a church website this week their tagline that they use for branding. It said, "We save souls with the help of Jesus." At first I was amused and then a little offended because that is completely backwards. That's not how salvation works at all. Jesus saves souls. We have the privilege and the responsibility of helping him by bringing others to him and walking alongside others toward him. But Jesus is the one who saves with our help, not the other way around. Now, I imagine what the church intended to say was that their work depends on the power of Jesus. We all depend on God's help to make our work productive and effective. Words and their arrangement are important. Speaking of the importance of using the right words, I need to make a correction to something that I said at the 8 o'clock and 9:30 services this past Sunday. I referred to the book, The 5 Love Languages, and said that the author was Gary Smalley. Well, that's not right. Gary Chapman is the author of The 5 Love Languages. Now, both Gary Smalley and Gary Chapman have written books about relationships from a Christian perspective, and I said the wrong name. I corrected myself at the 11 o'clock service, and I'm sure many of you caught my mistake, but my wife Sharon is the one who pointed it out to me. She always has my back. Sunday was the conclusion of our series on John Wesley's General Rules. They provide a method for living in right relationship with God and with each other and with creation. And the 3 rules are to do no harm, to do good, and to attend upon all the ordinances of God. Or, as Bishop Reuben Job put it, to stay in love with God. To summarize, the method of living that doing no harm creates is to pause and consider the consequences of our decisions, how our actions and words will affect another person, the community, the environment, and even God, before we say or do something that we might regret. The method of living that doing good creates is to redirect our first thought from me to the greater good. In other words, we put our own needs and desires in the context of the needs and desires of others and of the world. And we recognize that we have real power to transform the world, one act of goodness toward one person at a time. The method of living that the rule to stay in love with God creates is to open ourselves completely and continuously to the love and presence of God, and then to allow God's love to flow through us in the ways that we relate to others. The 3 rules are very much interrelated. Doing no harm and doing good to others is an expression of love, not only to them, but also to God. Remember the parable that Jesus told about the sheep and the goats recorded in Matthew 25? Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? When was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" The king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me." Love for God and love for others cannot be separated, and that love is expressed in action. We act to make our love for God real and tangible. by showing love and kindness, by working for peace and justice, by giving and forgiving generously, by choosing words and actions carefully, by promoting the greater good. When God's love flows through us, when Jesus' love comes alive in us, then we are the incarnation of God in the world. Pastor Bob will be bringing the midweek message over the next couple of weeks, and then I'll see you again after that. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.